The first sign something was wrong came through a text message from my tenant in Denver. Landlord, why is there a realtor showing my apartment to potential buyers? You didn't mention selling. I stared at my phone from my hotel room in Chicago, where I was attending a real estate investment conference. I'm not selling anything. What realtor? Within minutes, my phone exploded with similar messages from tenants in Phoenix, Portland, and Austin. All reporting unexpected showings, all describing the same scenario. A well-dressed woman with business cards claiming she represented the property owner. I immediately called my property management company. Sarah, what's happening with my rental portfolio? Tenants are reporting unauthorized showings. That's impossible, Sarah replied, clearly confused. We haven't authorized any listings or showings. All your properties are performing exceptionally well with long-term tenants paying above market rates. But the evidence was mounting rapidly. My Phoenix tenant sent photos of the realtor's business card. Jennifer Morrison, Premier Properties, specializing in investment portfolio sales. Morrison, my sister's married name. I called Jennifer directly, my hands shaking with growing anger. Why are my tenants reporting that you're showing their apartments to buyers? Oh, Michael. Jennifer's voice carried forced cheerfulness that immediately set off alarm bells. I was going to call you tonight. Mom and Dad asked me to handle the sale of your rental properties. We need to liquidate everything quickly for Stephanie's wedding. Stephanie's wedding? The venue requires a $100,000 deposit by next week, and Dad's retirement account is tied up in market volatility. Your real estate portfolio is the only liquid asset the family has access to. The audacity was breathtaking. My liquid asset portfolio consisted of 8 carefully selected rental properties across 4 states, generating consistent passive income and appreciating steadily. I'd spent 3 years researching markets, analyzing cash flow projections, and building relationships with local management companies. Jennifer, you have zero authority to sell my properties. Family emergencies require family solutions, she replied with practiced authority that suggested this conversation had been rehearsed. Mom showed me the paperwork proving Dad co-signed your original mortgages. That creates shared ownership rights that allow us to make necessary financial decisions. The co-signing had happened 5 years ago when my credit was still building after college. Dad had indeed co-signed 3 mortgages to help me secure better interest rates. But I'd refinanced all of them within 2 years, removing his name from every loan and establishing sole ownership. Those mortgages were refinanced years ago. Mom has documentation proving ongoing financial partnerships. Look, Michael, I've already received serious offers on 4 properties. The Phoenix duplex has a cash buyer willing to close in 2 weeks. I hung up and immediately called my attorney. David, I need an emergency injunction. My family is attempting to sell my entire rental portfolio without authorization. On what basis? They claim my father's co-signature from 5 years ago gives them current ownership rights. David's silence was ominous. Michael, unauthorized property listings constitute real estate fraud. If they're actually marketing your properties without legal standing, this could become a federal case. Federal. Multiple states, multiple properties, fraudulent representation to potential buyers. The FBI investigates real estate schemes that cross state lines. While David prepared legal documentation, I spent the evening researching Jennifer's recent real estate activity. What I found was deeply disturbing. She'd been aggressively marketing family investment portfolios for 6 months, specializing in emergency liquidation sales for families facing financial crises. Her website showcased testimonials from grateful families who'd sold inherited properties quickly to fund weddings, medical bills, and business ventures. One testimonial specifically mentioned helping families navigate complex ownership structures when multiple parties have investment stakes. Jennifer wasn't just trying to sell my properties. She'd built an entire business model around pressuring families into questionable real estate transactions. Friday morning brought devastating news from David's investigation. Michael, your properties aren't just being shown. They're actively listed on the multiple listing service with forged documentation. Listed how? I never signed anything. Jennifer submitted listing agreements with forged signatures. She's claiming power of attorney based on your father's historical co-signature status. I pulled up the MLS website and searched for my addresses. There they were, all 8 properties listed at below-market prices with motivated seller descriptions emphasizing quick closing timelines and family financial emergencies. The Portland triplex I'd purchased for $420,000 was listed at $380,000. The Austin single-family home I'd bought for $285,000 showed an asking price of $260,000. Every property was priced for immediate sale, sacrificing tens of thousands in equity for quick transactions. She's deliberately underpricing everything, I told David, my voice tight with rage. Emergency liquidation strategy. Price aggressively low to generate multiple quick offers, then pressure you to accept the first reasonable bid because time is running out for Stephanie's wedding. The wedding had become their justification for everything. According to my mother's increasingly frantic voicemails, Stephanie had booked an exclusive venue that required full payment within 10 days or they'd lose their once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The venue costs $300,000, Mom explained in her latest message. We've already paid $50,000 from Dad's retirement savings. Your property sales will cover the remaining balance plus reception costs, catering and honeymoon expenses. Jennifer's handling everything professionally. $300,000 for a wedding. More than most people's entire houses cost. By Saturday afternoon, the situation had escalated beyond family drama into potential criminal territory. Jennifer had accepted 3 purchase agreements, all contingent on my signature at closing. The buyers don't know you haven't authorized the sales, David explained during our emergency meeting at his office. Jennifer represented herself as your authorized agent with valid power of attorney documents. What happens when I don't show up to sign? Those buyers could sue for specific performance or damages. Jennifer's fraudulent representations could make you liable for their preparation costs, financing arrangements, inspection fees and legal expenses. We spent Sunday preparing a comprehensive response strategy. David contacted the MLS board to report unauthorized listings, filed complaints with state real estate commissions in all 4 affected states, and prepared cease and desist orders for immediate delivery to Jennifer and all involved parties. Michael, you need to understand the scope of what's happening, David warned, spreading documents across his conference table. Jennifer hasn't just listed your properties. She's actively misrepresented your ownership status to multiple buyers, lenders, title companies, and real estate professionals across state lines. Monday morning, I flew to Denver to personally confront the chaos Jennifer had created. My first stop was the MLS regional office, where I met with Compliance Director Rebecca Walsh. Mr. Morrison, we've been investigating unusual listing activity from Jennifer Morrison's account, Rebecca said grimly. She's submitted 17 property listings in the past month claiming power of attorney from various family members. 17. Your 8 properties are part of a larger pattern. We've identified questionable listings involving properties allegedly owned by her uncle, her husband's brother, and 2 family friends. Jennifer hadn't just targeted me. She'd been systematically exploiting family relationships to generate fraudulent real estate commissions from multiple victims. Tuesday afternoon, Rebecca Walsh called with bombshell news that transformed Jennifer's scheme from family betrayal into federal crime. Michael, the FBI wants to interview you. Jennifer Morrison is under investigation for operating an interstate real estate fraud ring. The scope of Jennifer's operation was staggering. Federal investigators had uncovered fraudulent listings in 12 states, involving over 40 properties allegedly owned by family members who'd never authorized sales. She's been forging power of attorney documents for 18 months, Special Agent Martinez explained during our meeting. Your case helped us identify the pattern because you immediately challenged the unauthorized listings. Jennifer's business model was sophisticated. Identify family members with valuable real estate, create urgent financial scenarios requiring immediate property sales, forge necessary documentation, and split profits with collaborating family members who pressured the actual owners to cooperate. The wedding emergency was fabricated? Your sister Stephanie confirmed she never booked any expensive venue. The $300,000 wedding cost was entirely fictional, designed to justify liquidating your portfolio. The revelation hit like physical violence. Not only had Jennifer forged documents and fraudulently listed my properties, But my entire family had conspired to create a fake crisis to pressure me into accepting the unauthorized sales. Agent Martinez spread Jennifer's business records across the conference table. She's generated over $2 million in fraudulent commissions using this family pressure strategy. Your properties would have netted her approximately $80,000 in fees. What about the buyers who made offers? All legitimate purchasers who believed they were dealing with authorized property sales. Jennifer's fraud extends to misrepresenting ownership status to buyers, mortgage companies, and title insurance providers. The federal charges were extensive: wire fraud, mail fraud, interstate transportation of fraudulent documents, and conspiracy to commit real estate fraud. Each charge carried potential prison sentences of up to 20 years. Your family members who participated in the pressure campaign could face conspiracy charges, Agent Martinez warned. Anyone who knowingly participated in creating the fake emergency scenario to coerce property sales becomes part of the federal case. Mom's panicked voicemail from that evening confirmed what I already suspected. Michael, please call me immediately. FBI agents came to our house asking about property sales and family financial arrangements. Jennifer says this is all a misunderstanding. The misunderstanding was about to cost Jennifer her freedom and my family their credibility. Within 6 weeks, Jennifer's real estate license was permanently revoked in all states where she'd operated. The FBI investigation revealed fraudulent activity totaling $4.2 million across multiple victims, making it one of the largest family-based real estate fraud cases in regional history. Jennifer pled guilty to federal fraud charges and received a sentence of 4 years in federal prison plus restitution payments to affected families. The court ordered her to pay $127,000 in damages to the legitimate buyers who'd suffered financial losses due to her misrepresentations. My parents faced intense scrutiny from federal investigators but avoided criminal charges by providing full cooperation and testimony about Jennifer's manipulation tactics. However, their willingness to participate in fraudulent pressure campaigns destroyed any remaining trust between us. We thought we were helping with a family emergency, Dad attempted to explain during our final conversation. Jennifer showed us documentation proving she had legal authority to handle the sales. You didn't verify anything. You simply wanted access to my assets. The wedding that had supposedly justified everything never happened. Stephanie, mortified by the federal investigation and family scandal, postponed her engagement indefinitely. I kept all my properties, working with legitimate real estate professionals to remove the fraudulent listings and repair relationships with affected tenants. The experience taught me that family loyalty requires actual verification, not blind trust. The FBI investigation expanded to include other real estate agents using similar family pressure tactics. Jennifer's case became a federal training example of how sophisticated fraud schemes exploit family relationships to circumvent legal protections. The corner office of Morris Technologies had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown, expensive artwork on the walls, and today my Uncle Marcus's condescending smirk as he watched me empty his trash bin. Sophia's here to tidy up before the investors arrive, he announced to his son, my cousin David, who barely glanced up from his phone. We can't have the place looking shabby for Summit Capital, can we? I kept my face neutral as I collected the coffee cups and straightened the magazines on his desk. If only they knew that Summit Capital was actually MY Company, and I was here for more than just their garbage. Let me explain. I'm Sophia Reyes, and to my family, I'm nothing more than the night cleaning staff at their precious tech company. But there's so much more to the story. 10 years ago, when my father passed away, my Uncle Marcus swooped in and took control of the family business. He convinced my mother that she couldn't possibly handle running a technology company as a widow with a teenage daughter. He offered to help manage things until I was old enough to take over. That help turned into a hostile takeover. Within months, he had restructured the company, diluted our shares, and pushed us out completely. My mother was devastated. The company my father had built from nothing was suddenly in the hands of a man who had always been jealous of his younger brother's success. It's better this way, my uncle told us, writing a pathetically small buyout check. Women aren't cut out for the tech world anyway. I was 16 then, watching my mother cry as she signed away our legacy. But I made a promise to myself that day: I would prove him wrong. I worked through high school and college, cleaning offices at night while studying business and computer science during the day. My uncle, in his arrogance, had actually given me the perfect cover. As a cleaner, I was invisible. No one paid attention to me. No one wondered why I was there after hours or what I might be seeing or hearing. When I graduated with my MBA at 24, I used my savings and my knowledge of the tech industry to start an investment firm. I named it Summit Capital, after the street where my father started his first company. Through careful planning and strategic investments, I grew it into one of the most successful venture capital firms in the city. Not that my family knew any of this. To them, I was still just Sophia the cleaner, the failure, the cautionary tale they whispered about at family gatherings. Look at Sophia, they'd say. This is what happens when you don't have a man to guide you in business. I let them talk. Let them believe what they wanted. Because I knew something they didn't. Morris Technologies was in trouble. Big trouble. My uncle's mismanagement had run the company into the ground. Their technology was outdated, their market share was shrinking, and they were desperately seeking investors to stay afloat. That's why they'd reached out to Summit Capital, not knowing they were actually reaching out to me. For 6 months, I'd been gathering intelligence during my cleaning shifts. I saw the fake numbers they prepared for investors. I found the documents showing millions in hidden debt. I watched my uncle and cousin take expensive vacations while laying off dedicated employees. And now here I was, emptying their trash one last time before the big investment meeting. Sophia, my uncle called out as I headed for the door. Make sure you really scrub the conference room. We have important people coming. I nodded meekly. Yes, Uncle Marcus. And Sophia? He didn't even look up from his desk. Or something less noticeable during the meeting. We don't want the investors to see the help. I closed the door quietly behind me, smiling to myself. In my locker downstairs was a Saint Laurent suit and Louboutin heels that cost more than my uncle's monthly salary. In my briefcase was paperwork showing exactly how much trouble Morris Technologies was in, and how easily Summit Capital could take control. My phone buzzed, a text from my assistant. Car's ready whenever you are, Ms. Reyes. Summit Capital's board is assembled for the meeting. Another message followed. Your mother's private jet just landed. She's excited to see the look on Marcus's face. Yes, my mother knew everything. Had known for years. We'd been planning this together, waiting for the perfect moment. She had learned to play the grieving widow, making the family believe she was broken and helpless. In reality, she was a silent partner in Summit Capital, enjoying every minute of our long game. I looked at my reflection in the office window, still wearing my cleaner's uniform. In 2 hours, I would return in my true identity, Sophia Reyes, CEO of Summit Capital, here to decide the fate of Morris Technologies. My uncle's words from 10 years ago echoed in my head. Women aren't cut out for the tech world. I straightened a picture on his wall, one showing him at the company's peak, grinning like he'd built it himself instead of stealing it from his brother's family. We'll see about that, Uncle Marcus, I whispered. We'll see about that. 2 hours later, I stood in the lobby bathroom of Morris Technologies, transformation complete. The cleaner's uniform was tucked away in my designer bag, replaced by a perfectly tailored black Saint Laurent suit. My hair, earlier hidden under a cleaning cap, now fell in elegant waves past my shoulders. The nervous, meek Sophia was gone. In the mirror stood the CEO of Summit Capital, worth more than this entire building. My phone buzzed with a message from my mother. In position in the waiting area. Marcus just walked right past me without a glance. Ready when you are, sweetheart. I smiled, applying one final coat of red lipstick. My mother had played her part perfectly these past 10 years, convincing the family she was a helpless widow too broken to function in business. They never questioned why she always seemed to have money, attributing it to good investments made by her financial advisor, who was, of course, me. The conference room was already full when I arrived. Through the glass walls, I could see my Uncle Marcus at the head of the table, gesturing grandly to his audience of board members and executives. My cousin David sat at his right hand, still glued to his phone. They were all there, every family member who had helped push us out, who had belittled us, who had treated me like invisible help for the past decade. I checked my watch. Right on time. The receptionist, who just an hour ago had watched me mop the lobby, did a double take as I approached. I'm here for the Summit Capital meeting, I said smoothly, enjoying her confusion. Of course, she stammered. They're expecting Summit CEO. That's me. I handed her my business card. Her eyes widened as she read it. Inside the conference room, my uncle was in full performance mode. Summit Capital will be lucky to partner with us, he was saying. Morris Technologies is on the cutting edge of dash. He stopped mid-sentence as I walked in, his expression flickering with annoyance at the interruption. Then confusion as he tried to place my familiar face in unfamiliar clothing. I'm sorry, he said sharply. This is a private meeting. Sophia must have forgotten to put up the "Do Not Disturb" sign dash. Actually, I cut in, my voice carrying clearly across the room. I'm right where I need to be. I pulled out my business card and slid it across the polished table. Sophia Reyes, CEO of Summit Capital. Shall we begin? The silence that followed was deafening. My uncle's face went from red to white to red again. David actually dropped his phone. Around the table, board members shifted uncomfortably, several of them already connecting the dots. This is some kind of joke, Marcus sputtered. You're the cleaning staff. No, Uncle Marcus, I smiled, taking the seat opposite him. I'm the CEO of the investment firm you've been desperately courting for the past 6 months. Though I have been gathering quite a bit of interesting information during my evening cleaning shifts. I opened my briefcase and began laying out documents. For instance, these falsified financial reports you've been preparing for investors. And these records of undisclosed debt. Oh, and my personal favorite, documentation of how you illegally pushed my mother and me out of my father's company 10 years ago. The blood drained from his face. You can't prove dash. Actually, I can. I nodded toward the door where my mother now stood, elegant and poised. Hello, Mother. Perfect timing as always. She walked in, placing a thick folder on the table. Marcus, you really should have checked who bought those worthless shares you convinced me to sell a decade ago. Summit Capital has been a majority shareholder for quite some time now. David jumped to his feet. This is ridiculous. She's nobody. She cleans offices. Correction, I said calmly. I own the cleaning company that contracted with Morris Technologies. Just like I own the venture capital firm you're begging for money. Just like I now own controlling interest in this company. I pressed a button on my phone and the room's presentation screen lit up with Summit Capital's portfolio, billions in assets, hundreds of successful investments, and now majority ownership of Morris Technologies. You see, Uncle Marcus, while you were busy telling everyone that women aren't cut out for the tech world, I was building an empire. Every time you saw me cleaning your office, I was actually conducting due diligence. Every time you walked past me like I was invisible, I was evaluating your company's weaknesses. I stood up, enjoying the way he seemed to shrink in his chair. And now, I own everything you stole from us. The company my father built. The legacy you tried to erase. All of it. You can't do this, he whispered. We're family. Family. My mother's laugh was cold. Was it family when you manipulated me while I was grieving? When you pushed your brother's wife and daughter out of their own company? I pressed another button on my phone and security entered the room. These gentlemen will escort you to clear out your office, Uncle Marcus. You do, David. As of this moment, you're both terminated. You're firing us? David's voice cracked. No, I corrected him. I'm taking back what's mine. Although, I pretended to consider for a moment. We do have some openings in the maintenance department. After all, someone needs to clean the offices. Marcus lunged forward, his face purple with rage. You little dash. Careful, Uncle Marcus. I cut him off. Security is watching. And unlike you, they actually work for me. As they were let out, I turned to the shell-shocked board members. Now, shall we discuss the future of Morris Technologies? I have some exciting plans for modernization. The meeting that followed was one of the most satisfying hours of my life. I outlined my vision for the company: innovation, growth, and most importantly, ethical leadership. By the end, even the most skeptical board members were convinced. Later that evening, I sat in what had been my uncle's office, my father's office before that, looking at the city lights. My mother joined me, carrying 2 glasses of champagne. Your father would be so proud, she said softly. I took a glass, thinking of the long game we'd played. Do you think 10 years of cleaning offices was too petty? She laughed. Darling, you built a billion-dollar company while letting them think you were nothing. That's not petty, that's brilliant. My phone buzzed with messages from family members who had just heard the news. Uncle Marcus, you've destroyed this family. David, You can't do this to us. Various cousins. We never knew, we're so sorry. I blocked them all with one click. What now? My mother asked. I picked up my father's old nameplate which I'd found in a storage room. Now we rebuild. The right way. Security called up. They'd found Marcus trying to delete files from the company server. I smiled, remembering how I'd backed everything up months ago. Should we press charges? The head of security asked. No, I decided. Let him go. He's lost everything already. The company, his reputation, his pride. And tomorrow, when the press releases go out announcing Summit Capital's acquisition of Morris Technologies and my return as CEO, he'll lose the last thing he has left, the illusion that he ever had any real power. I looked at my reflection in the window, remembering all the nights I'd spent cleaning these same windows, watching, waiting, planning. You know what the best part is, Mother? He spent 10 years looking right through me, never realizing that the person he thought was nothing was actually becoming everything. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just taking back what's yours. It's letting your enemies watch as you succeed beyond their wildest dreams. Sometimes it's about proving that the person they underestimated, the one they pushed aside and looked down on, was actually the architect of their downfall. And sometimes the sweetest victory comes not from cleaning offices, but from owning the entire building they're in. I raised my glass to the city skyline, to 10 years of patience, to the perfect revenge that wasn't just about getting even, it was about getting everything. To cleaning up the family business, I toasted. Permanently.